This is about how to force yourself to be healthy, which sounds not enjoyable because in some ways it's not. But I came from a point where I was so unwell, mentally speaking. But I guess, the body and mind are connected. So I was actually unwell in my body as well. I just didn't realize it. But, but that I had to get to a point where I needed to force myself. And that's because I had given myself an ultimatum, that ultimatum being if I wasn't better after a year, that I had to not be alive anymore because it was so bad. The mental anguish was so bad. So what did I do? How did I force myself? In the moments where I would think, well, I want to stay up really late, or I want to eat, I want to buy sugar cookies, and I wanted to eat those sugar cookies, I would have to force I would just have to, it wasn't about what I wanted. What I wanted was to stay up all night. What I wanted was to eat a bunch of cookies. What I wanted was to not eat healthy. What I didn't want to go to the gym and increase that amount. I just didn't. From what I was doing before, I just started increasing it to a healthy amount. But I didn't want to do those things. But I even more so didn't want the disorder. Even more than that, I didn't want to feel horrible all the time. And that's what, I guess that's what drove me, was understanding that I just needed to not feel horrible. And so and that as I kept getting better, as my mind was feeling better, as I was going into a more relaxed nervous system, that pushed me because I didn't want to go backward. I didn't want to go back to the point that I had gone before in feeling mental anguish. Because previously, it had only been getting worse over time. And suddenly, for the first time, it was getting better. And it was getting better simply because I was consistently making, and not at all times. There's definitely times where I would mess it up. I would stay up late because I have a gig, or I'd stay up late because there's this thing I'm watching. But I would try my best to get back on track with a protocol that I had written out for myself and do that. And if you're, thinking, well, do I have to make a protocol? I don't know what you have to do for yourself. But what I can say is I for myself couldn't trust myself to be healthy, which is kind of a bummer to think of it that way. But I couldn't, because I would consistently become dysregulated again. So I for the first time in my life, I had to force myself to do things, regardless of what I wanted to do. I would want to stay out all night, but I would choose to then go to sleep early. What a boring sounding thing. It's very boring, but it's part of the thing that made me feel a lot better. So, anyway, to wrap it up, to answer how did I force myself to do it, is in some ways which sounds counterintuitive, but I disregarded, in some way, I disregarded my own feelings that I knew, I suppose that I knew in a intellectual sense, were causing me unrest, right? That's what I mean. I wanted cookies, but I knew that the cookies would lead to more unhealthy pathogens in my gut, and that would lead to an increase in glucose that would cause a chain reaction, and then I'd eventually get a cognitive symptom, right? Or I'd get brain fog or something, whatever. There's a cascade effect. But I would really have to just force it. I couldn't wait. I couldn't go, today's the day where I feel ready. Or I'd wake up and go, today I don't feel like going to the gym. Nope, I did not wait for that. I was like, I don't care. I don't want to go to the gym. Now, I would listen to my body. I would go, okay, this is tired, or my legs are really sore. Let's give it a day. That makes sense. But I wouldn't suddenly not go for 2 weeks. I would rest, heal, and then go again. Or I would just do a different muscle group. Okay, my legs are tired. Great, I'll do this. That's kind of how that would go. So I wish there was an easier answer, but just like the cold shower, me going in there every morning, I never want to go in it. I want the effects of it, but I never want to go in it. I guess I want to go in it because of the effects of it, but the feeling of that cold hitting my skin feels awful. And then you feel wonderful. But it's making sure that I kept going, because I never want to get back to that mental state, which was like a daily nightmare. I never want to get back to that.